Phil, can you elaborate a little bit on your experience and your training as a pilot?
Yes. When I came to Canada in '83, I immediately set out to find a way to start flight training. So I started in 1988 as a first logged hour in my logbook, which I still have, my original logbook, and I'm just flipping through to the first page here, just to show. This is pretty much how it's set up, right? So that's my logbook, my Canadian logbook, my original logbook when I started in 1988. And I got my private pilot license here in Canada. And after that, I went on to my commercial pilot license. And then after that, went on to my multi-engine training and my flight instructor training. So those were important to me to just follow through. I did one after the next, even though the timing for me was much longer. That was the pathway that I took to acquire the knowledge and experience I have as of this particular point in time. So you know that was my personal experience and accomplishing my goals in achieving that and maintaining the knowledge. I used to actually go in and write the Transport Canada exam just to test myself, not because I needed it. So if you look at a lot of my results from my exam, it may show I've taken the test 4 times, but that's not because I just had to take it 4 times. It's just I wanted to take it. So the knowledge is there. And that was encouraged by one of my former flight instructor. He used to teach ground school classes when I was attending Winnipeg Aviation in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We used to have ground school classes, and I used to love participating in those classes. And he said, sometimes you can go in and write your transport, just write the Transport Canada exam, so you it as a way of testing yourself, right? So I used to love doing that, and to maintain to see if I didn't study after 6 months or whatever, and I went in and I took the exam because I didn't take the flight test portion of it yet, or that the first one the one that I took expired, and I just want to have something current, I will go and write it again. So just to test myself and
Mm-hmm.
see where I was at in terms of knowledge loss, because like I said, I had a routine where I was always in the books, I was always reviewing. We've had to update our AIP, all the pages that went into it with a new. You have to actually take out the old pages that expire, put in the new pages, and sign the document because it is a legal document. So any references that you make to with that document, it's all current. The same thing with charts. So we had to physically go through that process. It's not like now you have an iPad program and you can just download it automatically, and you don't actually. I don't know. It's a new system, so the technology has changed, and the way I did it was old school, right? My flight training was old school.
Mm-hmm.
I trained with steam gauges, not electronic flight book. Everything like that's the era I came out of. So I was able to transition from that period into our current period with some exposure to the new technology. But for myself, it was all a transition to a flight simulator program that has all the new technology. So I used to plan flights in real time from Florida to Puerto Rico or Florida to St. Vincent in real time, right? And using the technology, and charts worked, identifying nav aids, all of that stuff works. So you can program the weather, actual weather. You can actually, have an emergency while you're doing this trip. So all this is part of maintaining your training, something you would have paid for in a real airplane for lots of money to maintain that level of proficiency. So it's important to have the right attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this was my particular goal in aviation, in being a proficient pilot.
I see. Speaking about old school, I don't know anything about airplanes. I don't know if this is old school or not, but you brought this today. Can you tell us what in the world this is?
Well, this is a fuel sampler, right? So when you do a pre-flight or any airplanes, you have to do a walk around. One of the things is taking a fuel sample. So what we do, we there's a little access plate, right, that we have onto the airplane, a little fuel cock that we actually could extract a sample of fuel, right? I have two of them. This is a simpler one. Basically, you'll stick this in the fuel cock and fuel will come down and you get a sample of fuel. What you're looking for is contamination. So you're looking for the proper color, you're looking for any water that might be in your fuel, you're looking for any contaminants that are floating around. You want to know this is part of your pre-flight checks, and this would allow you to, because everything settles at the bottom of the fuel tank, right? The fuel cells. So these fuel cocks are positioned at the lowest point. So when you drain it, you can extract all the contaminants from the tank. And fuel is expensive, and you also don't want to contaminate the environment. So something like this, you'll have flip this little yellow tab upside down, and it becomes one of this little port that you can stick inside the fuel drain and extract the fuel in here. Then you take this little guy, put them together like that, with the fuel inside, of course, and there's a strainer in here. So instead of throwing the fuel onto the tarmac, you can pour it back into a container, or you can pour it back into the tank, extracting all the contaminants, leaving it inside. So you can still, dispose of the fuel or use it as required. But it's a way. I bought this when I was flying with American Flying Club, and I bought it there. So I think it was a perfect thing to have. So this is one thing. It's not common, but it's something that to consider in terms of keeping the environment.
Can we show them this part here?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the strainer component to this.
I see.
Yeah.
So how did this go together again?
So what we do, the little cap there, you put it over top.
Yep.
And this is to strain the fuel that you took out of the tank that is now in here. So when you pour it back out, it'll be strained, right? And you leave the contaminants behind.
Excellent.
You either pour it back in a container or pour it back into the tank instead of throwing it on the tarmac.
I see.
Right? So after so many hours of doing that, you have gallons of fuel just discarded on the tarmac because everybody's throwing it onto the. So it's just something to consider, when you're doing a flight walk around.
Absolutely. And with the heavy integration of technology, do you think safety has improved in aviation over the last 10 or 20 years?
I definitely think it has improved over the last 10 years, 20 years. I mean, since the I guess the onset of cockpit resource management and safety, all it is basically is looking at the human factor, right? When two pilots work together with different personalities, some people may have a macho tendency, like I'm the captain, you have to do what I say, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you're working as a crew, that CRM is designed to take all that away, right? To allow information to flow. Even though the captain is your senior, you can call something that's wrong, right? Call it out so that you don't have an unsafe situation. Some guys don't want to challenge the captain, but in this case, it encourages you to do that, and it charges you with that responsibility. So you work as a team, and you have a good flow in between, regardless of the personality of the flight crew that's working, because the ultimate goal is safety. So you want to work together to have a safe cockpit management style and cockpit management flow, a lot of flow of information, and not rush things through. I see now today, my guys are on the radio and they're rattling, the clearance is back. as if it's all about speed. It's not all about speed. But this also has, in the past, has created safety issues. But when you have two crew members, maybe one not English as first language, um, you may pronounce something differently than someone else, right? So in pronouncing it, it can sound different, creating a situation for an unsafe situation. Because if you interpret somebody as saying take off power, right, as opposed to full power, this is one of the main reference, right, in terms of why there's standardization and your phraseology and the way you communicate. So take off power meaning retard as opposed to full throttle, right? Big difference. It's simple, but you see how that can create an
I
unsafe
definitely
situation.
see that.
So it's these type of cadences and flow in aviation that in the past have caused accidents. And since then, we've now developed a system to address those issues, the underlying issues that could cause, that could lead to something like that, like an accident or an incident, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole goal in aviation is safety focus and learning the techniques, practicing the techniques, having in the cockpit, for example, know when to have a sterile cockpit, so you don't have everybody distracted in the cockpit while you're trying to manage the systems in a departure procedure, for example. I mean, everything is going well, and chances are it's going to go well if you comply with the process and the procedures. But the minute and we refer to it in aviation as the Swiss cheese effect, right? There are many holes in a Swiss cheese,
Mm-hmm.
but you can line up some of them, you can line up all of them, or partially or so. But when they all line up, that means there's a break in the procedures that cause all the holes to line up, and you can have a problem that fly right through the hole and you have an accident, right?
Absolutely.
So you want to keep all the processes at the different levels so that you catch it at certain stages. So instead of going through the hole, you'll be caught in the second one, again, for cockpit flow and safety in the cockpit. I mean, it's become so automated that literally a lot of people depend very heavily on the technology instead of following through because it's repetitive, because it's so this can create a safety issue as well going forward. So I mean, listening to some of the guys on the radio taking shortcuts, enunciating instead of they're announcing, like for example, a waypoint. A waypoint is a collection of it's identified instead of giving a name like an English name, it's given different letters of the alphabet to identify a specific location. Now, because it sounds like it could be pronounced, a lot of the pilots go ahead and pronounce it. It's not designed to be pronounced, right? It should be enunciated. Alpha Bravo Charlie is Alpha Bravo Charlie,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so on. So you have to, and this again is a safety issue, right? Because when you're calling out reporting point, I'm over Iki, right? IKI. Iki at 5,000. It's not Iki. It's not pronounced. It's India, Kilo, India, not Iki. But everybody tries to pronounce it, but it's not designed to be pronounced. This is a trend that I realized that's happening more and more common, and it seems to be accepting now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of pilots, because of the shortcuts, because they're busy, I don't know what it is, but they want to do their own thing. So that's a deviation from what it was designed to do. So stuff like this in aviation need to be caught early. It need to be trained out of pilots at flight training level, and to address safety concerns like this. Otherwise, it can only snowball, right? And this is just a small example, right? So technology, depending heavily on technology, encourages, I want to say non-compliance, but it encourages complacency. So this is an issue that has to be addressed. Yes, it's repetitive. Yes, you have long procedures, but your job is not there to make it shorter. Your job is to follow through as you were trained to do, because your training gives you the minimum standards to remain safe. When you start cutting those corners, you're going back you're going backwards. Because if you did it on your flight test exam, you wouldn't pass. They'll fail you. So why are you doing it? Because now you're a licensed pilot. And yes, it's repetitive. That's like walking away from an airplane after you've done a walk around and jump in the airplane and fly away. In the minute that you weren't there, it could have been the airplane could have sustained a damage and you would not have caught it. You would have taken the airplane in the. So this again is an attitude, right? As soon as you turn your back on the airplane, you do your walk around again, right? And that's common sense. A lot of people don't do that, you know.
Well,
so
I definitely appreciate all of your opinions on the matter of aviation safety culture. Absolutely, for sure. One last thing I get often that I hear folks say, you know, I'm afraid of flying. I'd rather drive. I don't like the turbulence. What do you say to those young folks or to those people out there that are afraid of flying?
Yeah.
Just to get them flying a little bit more.
Yeah, and recently I've had a cousin that was like that, not get on a plane. Now you can't get her off her plane, so she's a world traveler now. That's Patrice, my cousin.
Sounds very familiar.
but yes, it's like flying is safe based on the volume and the processes that are in place for safety. Again, concerns. Flying is actually safer than driving, and you can do the stats on that. I'm not gonna, don't have to take my word for it. You go and look it up yourself. So every day you have thousands of flights going crisscrossing the globe, passenger deplaning, passengers and planing at different points. Hundreds of thousands of people every day that fly. So aviation is safe, right? Because it's built with safety in mind and training, everything from the aircraft manufacturing. I mean, there's safety standards, again, beyond the scope of this podcast, but it's all about safety from the training of the pilot to the manufacturing maintenance of the airplane to the airspace system. Everything is hinged very heavily on safety. So flying is very safe. The fact that, yes, you're in the air, a lot of people don't understand how an airplane fly. They don't know the pilot, and they know they want to get from A to B. They know, so they trust in that system. But to have a better understanding of the physics behind aviation, it's proven, right? So today, the result of the volume that travels, and so many people, so far all over the world, they benefit from this every day. So this flying is not something to be afraid of. Like even a little bit of turbulence is like going over a pothole. If you go over a rough road, you're going to feel the bumps, right? So these potholes are literally just thermals, like hot air rising and descending at different points. Over water, it's different. As you approach land, it's different, and you're going to feel that in the airplane. So if you fly from water to land, when you make that transition, you're going to feel a little bit of turbulence because the cooling on one side and the other, cooling over water, cooling over land, they're different. So they're going to create a temperature disparity that creates rising currents or hot air rising. If you look at the steam coming out of a kettle, you'll have an example of a hot air column rise. So if you fly from one column to the next, you may have there's a differential, right? A difference. So you're going to feel that difference as a little bump or a thud because the airplane weighing over 300,000 pounds flying, constantly, and all of a sudden it's displaced, you're going to feel it as a bump. So that's normal.
So definitely nothing to worry about.
Definitely nothing to worry about. I mean, it's sometimes for people who don't know for the first time, they obviously it's a little bit concerning because they don't understand, right? But this, like I said, millions of flight every day all over the globe. It's very safe. Nothing to really be concerned about. Severe turbulence, if the crew is concerned, they will announce that. And again, it's all about safety. So they're required by regulations to put the light on when they're encountering safety, just, again, to manage the situation, right? So flying is definitely safe, and there's nothing to really, be overly concerned about.
And what would you say to that young person out there today? I think one of the reasons we wanted to speak about this topic is because we wanted to be able to influence other people, other young people that might be in countries other than Canada and United States, where finances might be a little bit difficult, but they know they want to be a pilot. And they dream about becoming a pilot one day. What would you say to that young person in terms of his dreams of becoming a pilot?
Well, if you definitely know that's the path you want to take, I would strongly suggest taking an interest in the sciences and math. Science, math, and English is always a cornerstone, right? Because you have to be able to even though you're not required to do complicated computations, especially with automation today, it helps you process stuff when you get into a situation where you have to have rudimentary understanding of certain systems. It's easier if you understand like a science, and of course on your test you have to be able to express that you have the knowledge by doing the test. In a lot of cases, right? You'd be tested in different ways. Your comprehension, your communication, also important. So again, the processes to follow, especially for a very young person. If finance is an issue, I would suggest they go the Air Cadets way in Canada, or Air Patrol, or something, a community-based type of program that's attached to the military. Because as when you join, you get to fly gliders, you get to have a understanding of the aerodynamics, you get to the introduction of manipulating the controls of a craft in the air. So the basic stuff will be there, and you can use that because it's transferable to the next stage when you get to that level. But there's programs in place if you want to be a commercial pilot. You can have or join a high school that has an attachment to a community college that has a program that's linked, like in Canada and Toronto here, Porter Airlines and one of the, I believe it's Centennial College. They have a transition program where you go to enroll in Seneca aviation program, and they transition you into Porter when the time comes. So you're already in their slot, you're already in their eyes, so it's easy to make that transition. I didn't have that where I was. Otherwise, that's a path I would have taken. So yeah, but again, you just got to stay focused and keep your mind in the books. And again, it takes a lot of strong commitment, because you will be tested in more ways than one. And a lot of guys, like I said, walk away when things get really tough at this stage, whether it be financial or something in your life. I mean, there's a lot of challenges that need to be overcome, but it's not daunting. And if you're committed enough and it's something you really want to do, you can do it, right? You just consult with somebody, consult with a mentor or something like that. There's somebody that's in the program, or get attached to somebody, and they can guide you through from making a lot of mistakes that I made when I started. So you can avoid all of that by, getting a mentor or somebody that's been in it for a while, that can guide you, have your best interests at heart, and guide you along.
The one thing that I've been seeing a lot is a lot more female pilots over the last 10, 15 years. So I'm really happy to see that.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the female pilots out there. If you've enjoyed our topic today, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Give us a like. And of course, we're always ready to hear your feedback. Leave us a comment as well. Thank you so much, Phil, for being on the show today. Your opinion and all of the information that you've shared with us is greatly appreciated.
Really cool. We're glad to be able to help someone out there.
For sure. Until next time.
All right.
This is Vibing with Lady V.